David, a couple of different things to start with today. We just asked the question not that long ago. This RADCAN report that says the Provincial Liberal Party apparently very happy to not even announce a new leader until the spring of 2025. We had someone call us from within the party membership saying, by the way, just because the caucus thinks this is a good idea doesn't mean the membership will when they vote coming up in a couple of weeks from now. What do you think about this?
Well, first, the story this morning says that the caucus is considering two options. There is the option of a 2024 race and the other option, 2025. Now, it's interesting, whoever leaked this knows, just like Carmine said earlier, that the members, it's not just the 19 members of the Liberal caucus that are going to decide this. These are the writing association presidents and writing associations and members, senior members of the party that are going to decide this. But I think what's behind this situation is the fact that no interesting candidacies have come up. And regardless of what she's told you, Mara Risky is still a presence in this conversation. The fact is that there are members of the Liberal caucus that still want to see Mara Risky become the eventual leader. And I think right now the field is kind of frozen by those members. And the other thing that's happening, what my sources have told me and what I'm seeing, is that these 10 new members, the members that were elected in October of 2022, are still learning the ropes, are still trying to gain their footing. It is a steep learning curve when you've never been a member of the National Assembly to just from one day to the next just get into this routine at the National Assembly. It's very demanding work. Mm-hmm. It's tough to learn. And those members also are kind of in a wait-and-see mode and are in a completely different mode than, for example, in Mark Tanguay or Philomena Ratirati, or who have been MNA since the Charest years, and Marwa, who has been an MNA for 5 years now. So there's a lot of competing interests. You're going to speak to Fred Beauchemin again. Fred Beauchemin, to me, from what I understand, he's being pushed by older elements of the party, could be a stalking horse, because everybody in the party is hoping and thinking that this cannot be a crowning. There can't be just one candidate. And so they're hoping there will be more than one candidate running. That's why Fred Beauchemin is out there right now.
Okay, so he's kind of the rabbit in this, the way you're describing it. My question would be, David, let's kind of step outside. Let's say this was someone from outside the party now who liked that challenge. I'm going to pick a name like, like David HEURTEL, for example, just a name I'm picking out of a hat.
Right.
And that person said, you know what? This party is kind of rudderless right now. I have the experience of having been in this party. I know the internal workings of the party. I know what it would take to win. I believe I have a good enough reputation to at least put up a pretty good fight. Would there be interest for a candidate like that?
If say, for example, just to play your game, let's talk about some names, some plausible names that could have been out there. For example, somebody like Carl Blackburn, who is currently the president of the Conseil du Patronat du Québec, which is the most powerful, the biggest business lobby group in Quebec. He's a former Liberal minister, a former MNA, comes from a very, very well-known family in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, the Blackburns. His father was a minister in the Robert Bourassa government. So if a guy like that was thinking about running, then the 2025 scenario works, because he right now doesn't want to leave his job. He's in a good position to continue developing his name and his brand. And so you don't want to waste that by having him be basically a leader without a seat, being in corridors, just running around for media attention, while right now he's in a position to really influence the debate where he's at. But if the Liberals were serious about waiting, why wait until just the spring of 2025? If they were really serious of getting the best candidate possible, they would wait until the fall of 2025 or even the spring of 2026. Here's why. There's going to be a federal election by the spring of 2025. And so if the federal Liberals go down the way every signal right now, and there's a lot of time left, but after this last week, there are a lot of odds makers that are giving a big shot to the Trudeau Liberals about winning the next federal election. Mm-hmm. But if the federal Liberals stumble and don't form the next government in 2025, then you might have a François-Philippe Champagne or a Mélanie Joly, two names that are on the lips of everybody. Maybe not Mélanie, but François-Philippe Champagne has been seen as the ideal candidate, coming from Shawinigan, bilingual, has great credentials, has a business background. I mean, so if the Liberals are serious about attracting a candidate as the best candidates possible, I have trouble with this scenario being spring of 25. And the only person this really helps is Marwa Risky. I'm sorry, but it is.
Marwa Risky. Look, I know she is, but again, we've had her on a couple of times.
I know, and I've heard your interviews. But Aaron and Natasha, I know you love her. I know you love Greg. But the thing is that right now the dynamics within the caucus indicate that there's still a movement to freeze the race until Marwa looks at this from a different perspective down the road.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Okay, I want to make sure we get
By the way, I love what you just said because I sort of heard it mentioned but hadn't really thought much about it. If you can fast forward to 2026, a federal election, the results, if the Liberals lose, there's a couple of, as you just said,
well, there you go.
Very big names there.
If you're serious, if your strategy is wait and see until the best candidates possible, the provincial election is in October of 26.
Yeah.
So why all of a sudden, why pick out of a hat the spring of 25? Wait at least till the fall of 25 or even early 26, because you might have, and there is a fair point to be made here. There's not one thing going on with the Liberal Party of Quebec. There's 27 different things going wrong with the Liberal Party of Quebec. One of them is competent staff. And do you know, Aaron and Natasha, where the competent Liberal staffers are? They're with the federal Liberals. Mm-hmm. And so they're really, most of them, some of them are in the private sector, but most of them, the best of the best, have moved on and are in Ottawa or working for the federal Liberals in some sort of capacity. So, and that's a big problem because all you have right now is very weak staff in key positions making the most horrible of mistakes for the past few years.
Listen, we're running late, but I want to just get your comments quickly. After 4 long years, the mayor and the city of Montreal reached an agreement with Sue Montgomery and her former chief of staff, Annalisa Harris. $300,000. We spoke to Sue earlier. She's very upset about the whole thing still.
And I can get that it's traumatic. I've been on panels with her on the Big Five with Elias, and I've interviewed her as well. And what I find very, very, very strange is how little the French media is covering this. This was a small news item in La Presse. Think about this. The suit was a defamation and libel suit against the city of Montreal and Valérie Plante, as well as the civil servant that wrote this report that was at the source of everything. And so a sitting mayor of Montreal would rather settle for $300,000 with Annalisa Harris and Sue Montgomery rather to go to court, rather than testify, rather than put evidence and say, no, I'm not responsible for this. So while obviously selling out of court is not an admission of liability, there's a big issue here. Remember, a lot of people were saying at the time how quickly Valérie Plante used this report to just kick out a sitting borough mayor of her own party.
It felt like a green move, didn't it? It felt like someone
maybe there's more behind this. And I can only understand that Sue Montgomery may not be able or want to say everything behind this, but there's more to this than we know. And can I add very quickly another little news item this morning? Remember Philippe Pichet, who was the chief of police in Montreal until 2017. And again, after a blistering report, he was shown the door by Valerie Plante. Well, there was never a finding of any wrongdoing on his part. There was no disciplinary actions, no suits against him. He is currently suing for psychological harassment. The city of Montreal, and Valerie Plante, the sitting mayor, is on the witness list for this suit.
Wow.
Okay.
These are big deals. Both of these suits, both on the Pichet side and Montgomery Harris side, these are major deals for a sitting mayor, and she hasn't said anything about this. The mayor hasn't.
And
We'll
no attention to the
Troubling.
French paper. That's interesting,
So
too.
interesting.
Troubling as
David,
well.
thank you so much. You have a good weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Long weekend.